Welcome to the War Eagle Radio Network for Talons Out Live, presented by Rogers Hydrant Services. Coming to you live from West Carroll High School's War Eagle Team Night. Talons Out Live takes you in-depth and behind the scenes with West Carroll War Eagles head coach Clayton Morris, with stats, comments, and a breakdown of the previous game, plus a look ahead in the schedule. We'll sit down weekly with special guests and even a senior spotlight player. Now let's get this show started from the high school cafeteria stage. This is Talons Out Live. Welcome, one and all, to the War Eagle Radio Network, Talons Out Live, presented by Rogers Hydrant Service here on the stage at West Carroll High School. A little bit of a earlier day and a earlier time, trying to get everything done and squared away for the last episode of Talons Out Live of the season before we got the junior high ball game coming up here in just a little bit at about 6 o'clock. This is Talons Out Live, presented by Rogers Hydrant Service. Remember, they have hydrant flow testing, flushing, repairs, valve operation, hydrant painting, GPS mapping, and so much more. Call them at 662-3700. Call Tim Rogers or Joey Cherry, and you visit them online at rogershydrantservice.com. With 125 years of combined experience in the water treatment and distribution, they know H2O. I'm Jonathan Gowan alongside Adam Welch and Coach Morris. Adam, how are you tonight, brother?
Good. How are you?
Doing good. Glad you could get here a little early and get this done and get the show on the road and make it happen.
No problem.
And Coach Morris, how are you, sir?
Hanging in there. How are y'all?
Doing good. Have you had a lovely day, lovely Tuesday at school?
It's a different Tuesday. You know, first week after the season wraps up is always a little different.
Yeah. So I guess we can start right there, kind of talk about those emotions, whether it's you personally or whether it's inside the locker room. And I'm sure y'all have kind of got together as a group and kind of discussed some things and talked about it over the last couple of days in the locker room and just, you know, kind of reminiscing back some stuff. So let's talk about how that emotions have been in the last few days.
For me, it just seems like, and, you know, it may sound a little callous, but it's, you know, you spend your weekend, you know, I spent my weekend with the exception of watching film, you know, it was the same as I do just about every other weekend is kind of going back through, you know, the previous week, the game on Friday night in my mind, and also trying to spend a little family time and different things. You know, what was different this weekend is we didn't have the typical Sunday gathering and no film to go through. So that was what was different. But as far as, you know, emotions, you know, I felt like ready to turn the page and start thinking and preparing for, you know, it's a long ways out, but it'll be here before we know it. You know, that 2024 season.
Yeah.
It's you know, for us and especially for myself, you know, it started on Saturday with some of the thoughts and conversations, you know, I was having and you know, with the kids, you know, the vibe has been okay. You know, different individuals cope with it differently. We got together for a brief moment Monday to begin an athletic block. Not long because, you know, we have a lot of multi-sport kids and they're moving on over into basketball, and that's right around the corner. So we didn't want to keep them too long. But the big focus this week has just been cleaning. You know, getting the lockers cleaned out and taking all the personal things out, so that way we can vacuum it out and get a good disinfecting in it and a good cleaning. Get all the equipment up, get it organized and kind of get an inventory and look at the, you know, the condition of it all to see, you know, what can be used another season, what needs to be replaced, and start making that list and, you know, just some housekeeping things. So there hasn't been a whole lot of, you know, football thrown at these kids over the last 3 days. Well, what's today? Tuesday? 2 days.
Yeah.
You know, they need a break too, you know, so it's a time for them just to, you know, decompress, and we'll do a little cleaning, and we're pretty much almost there. We've gotten more done in 2 days than we have in the past, which I think is a good thing. And, you know, a little bit of mopping here and there. But that'll be about it. And then, towards the end of next week, we'll start probably teaching some lifts, you know, not lifting, you know, but there's some teaching that goes into certain lifts and being sure that we're taught right. And so it'll be 2 weeks before we get started up with our off-season weights.
Right, doing a little bit of housekeeping things here and there. So, and when you talk about those lifting aspects of it, and I mean, is that just kind of to keep them in the same flow of everything for the most part of the way they do things and some of the regiment. Because I mean, yeah, it's what 9 months away, but
Yeah.
I mean that
Yeah.
that'll be coming like a freight train
Well,
really
yeah,
soon.
it will. But I mean, we're losing a big senior group,
Yeah,
and we have a lot of youth there, and so for the kids that don't play, another sport, you don't want them to have nothing but downtime from now until May or June. And so, yeah, maybe a little bit of routine, but there's some things that we feel like that we need to continue to focus on, and kind of reviewing this season, and some things that we felt like kind of hindered us and held us back is
right.
some things we feel like we can address and hopefully work on in the off season. And so the sooner you can get those traits instilled and ingrained in a group, the more contagious it becomes. But there's always a fine line. We won't hit it really hard and heavy until after Christmas break,
Yeah,
because you got Thanksgiving break coming up, and then a couple weeks after that you have Christmas, and then you've got testing that'll go on, so that throws some. We won't be doing a whole lot during that because
right.
students need to be focused on testing, and so like I said, it'll be more of the teaching of the routines, teaching of the lists, teaching of the procedures of how things are going to operate. So hopefully when we get back, after New Year's, and we can hit the ground running. And I mean, you're looking at that, you've got 3 months and it'll be spring ball,
Yeah.
and so
Yeah,
it once that February mark hits, man, it starts moving quick again, and we'll be in summer before you know it.
It seems all real. Or I should have said, it doesn't seem real. I know for you now, obviously. But what are some of the things that you told your team after the last game Friday night, or was it kind of a whirlwind, really?
Yeah, no, there's never good words to say for the last game of your season.
especially to those seniors.
Yeah, everybody handles it in their own, and you just I've kind of learned over the years that's not the time to be given a soapbox speech about
Yeah,
different things. It's let them have their moment, whatever that
Yeah.
moment looks like, from freshmen to seniors. I mean, it hits them all the same. They've all gone through the same process with the same expectations and the same standards. And so, just kind of, hey, love you.
yeah,
It's not where we wanted to be, but it comes with it.
Yeah.
You do it long enough, it's going to happen. And that was kind of it. It
yeah,
really wasn't a long drawn out deal, and allowed families to have their moments with the seniors.
yeah,
I know they took a little bit longer to get out, and seemed like a lot of our underclassmen were, you know, pretty tore up about it, and
yeah.
they got changed and got on about their business too.
Well,
And what I was
yeah.
one thing I was going to say is you kind of brought that up. That was a very different scene, I guess, on Friday night. Because it takes us a while to get off the post game
Mhm.
show, get everything wrapped up, get
Mhm.
everything packaged up and put together and stuff. And by the time that me and Jordan even left, you could see several seniors still out there on the field. 'Cause some of them had just they're in their families had picked a different yard line to sit on and just kind of you know
Yeah.
I guess soaked it in and had that processing moment. I mean, I'm sure they're going to still take a lot of time to process and stuff, but that's the ones that you kind of, I guess, as a outsider
Mhm.
like myself, you kind of feel for the seniors more than anything because that was their absolute last one as far as
Mhm.
high school sports
That's right.
goes, and you could tell that there was a few of them out there that was just kind of staring off into at the scoreboard or into space or into the end zone, just kind of reflecting, reminiscing, kind of processing the situation.
And still, for a lot of them, I know that it hit them a little bit, but it truly hasn't hit them yet.
Yeah,
Looking back and then talking to some kids, that I've been privileged to coach over the years, it's that next season, or the spring ball,
yeah,
or that's when it begins to hit. That 3 to 4 to however long you've been doing it. Everybody's a little bit different sometimes with how long they've played, but it is a routine. It
yeah,
is a grind. It's a demanding sport, and it'll hit them even harder, in the coming months.
yeah,
But I think they're handling it well. One of the things we talk about within our program is life's full of chapters,
hmm
and for them, a chapter of a big chapter of their life is closed, which is high school football, and was, we've talked about it. That's a chapter that, in the capacity that they've served in the last 3 to 4 years, don't ever get the privilege of serving in that again. They may coach, or they may play at the next level, and they may be around it, or maybe be blessed enough to have children that are around it. You never know. But as far as the capacity of putting the pads on and playing with that group and this team and the teams they've had in the past, that they'll never have that ability again.
Yeah.
And how tough is it when you see it? You see this happen in the fall with football and the basketball. Once you get to March, softball might be in May, and baseball in May. It's a feeling. It's like March Madness, and I compare it to that, because it reminds me of, how do you cope with this on some of these kids?
When I was their age, probably didn't cope with it well.
Yeah.
Not saying that there was, depression or bad attitudes or anything like that, but I don't think I understood to the fullest effect of the chapter that had been closed. And that's why I say I don't think they do right now either.
Yeah.
It's going to hit them more as time goes on.
Sure.
I was fortunate enough to play at the next level in a couple different places, and so it truly didn't hit me for a little longer than that. And then as you get older, you look, and my biggest hope is, number one, that they know I'm here. There's not enough words to help them cope. Everybody has to cope in their own ways, and some move on fine without a hitch, and then others try to hide it, and some still just don't want to talk about it. And so I've learned to let the kids kind of handle it as they may. I hope they know that I'm here if they ever need to talk about it, or whatever they need. But I also hope that as they move on in their lives and whatever it is that they do, that what they're hit with is lessons that they may have not have soaked in all the way during the 3 years that I've been here with them, but they may, I know it hit me, when I got, and it still does, things I learned in athletics, not just football, but some things I had coaches in all sports teach me. And as I get older, I'm like, yeah, you know what? I've heard that before. I've had someone try to tell me that before. And that's my biggest hope, that I've made, and my coaches, and we've made enough of an impact to guide them along their path of becoming young men.
All right, we're going to step away. We're going to take a quick 1-minute message, get that out of the way, and then we'll come back and look at some of the stats from Friday night versus Eagleville. So we'll step away for 1-minute message here on the War Eagle Radio Network.
You know good and well a party ain't a party unless giant inflatable jumpers are involved. Hensley's Inflatable Rentals has you covered with an inflatable bounce house or a 15-foot tall inflatable slide. And better yet, they both can be used wet or dry, whatever your party calls for. Call Big Dave at 731-487-5995 for rental prices and booking. Or visit Hensley's Inflatable Rentals on Facebook to see the offerings and to add the extra fun of inflatables to your next event. If you're looking for the best in home generators, then look to K-Men Electric in Greenfield, Tennessee for your sales and installation of Generac home standby generators. Free estimates, licensed and insured. Why sit in the dark during power outages? Life is better with power. K-Men Electric has the experience you need with over 1,000 generators installed. Call today at 731-571-0767.
The stars of your love remind me of us. They keep me thinking that we almost had it all. The stars of your
Welcome back live on the War Eagle Radio Network. Talons Out Live, presented by Rogers Hydrant Service here at West Carroll High School. We appreciate the folks joining us live, because we had to upgrade and move to a different time slot. And this just helps the flow of everything, so we can go right over here and take care of this junior high ball game and get everything squared away, and then we don't have to, have to come back tomorrow, and then I got to be back here Thursday for another junior high ball game. So it's kind of back and forth. Yeah, it never ends.
It's never ending now.
It well, as far as the broadcast situation goes, there was several times that we had, if football ended, say week 1 of the playoffs or something, or we didn't make the playoffs in the past, you had a week or two before basketball. I remember it was either last year or year before last. I think it was with you, where we made it into the second round.
Yep.
And because I know we've done that two or three times in the last little bit, we made it into the second round, and we played
Friday night and turn around and have basketball on Saturday.
No, we had basketball on Thursday. I think we went to Memphis or Lake County or something on that Friday night, and then turned around and had another basketball game on Saturday.
Yeah.
So it was like boom, boom, boom.
Yep.
You know, so it kind of overlapped. But now with me doing the PA for the junior high, it is really overlapped because we've already been doing that for almost 2 weeks.
Oh, yeah. They're well in their season right now.
So we've been doing that hot and heavy. And then, like I said, you know, tonight we got one coming up at 6 o'clock. And then homecoming for junior high is on Thursday night. And then next Tuesday is high school basketball. It starts. We go to JCS in Jackson. So that'll be the next part of the broadcast situation is that one at JCS, and then I think on Friday we come here and we play Madison Academic. I think next Friday. So it's coming. It's rolling right along. Adam, let's take a look at some of those stats. I know Coach Morris is probably not really want to exactly, but you know, let's break down a few of those stats from that game on Friday night. Not what we wanted. 37-6 was the final score for that, and you know that's not how we wanted to end the season. But man, there was still some good stuff in there, but yet some tough stuff as well.
First downs: West Carroll 10, Eagleville 18. Rushing yards: West Carroll 27, Eagleville 161. Passing yards: West Carroll 102, Eagleville 152. Total net offense: West Carroll 129, Eagleville 313. Let's go over some individual stuff for West Carroll. Jaden Milton, 13 carries for 29 yards. Zach Fowler, 8 carries for 11 yards. Dalen Drassel, 2 carries for 7 yards. Passing, Zach Fowler, 10 out of 16 for 102 yards with a long of 24. Receiving, you had Wyckoff, Taylor, Drassel, and Smith all with catches in the game. Wyckoff had a touchdown catch. You look at this game, and Jonathan, well, actually, Don brought this up off the air, and I totally agreed with him 110% what he said. Granted, I'm sure you might disagree or agree. I don't know how you thought we played, but I thought Eagleville played flawless.
Oh, there's no doubt.
I mean, when I say flawless, I mean, I could see up top how they were following their blockers on every play on offense, and on defense, it was like a swarm of bees. I mean, I've never seen anything like it.
We went up against something totally different. Right?
If anyone disagrees with that claim, that I've questioned what they watched on Friday. You know what? We talked about all week, and we mentioned it on the show last week, just how hard Eagleville plays. You know,
unbelievable.
Looking at them in person, you're going, well, they're not very big, and then you watch them run around.
That's
like,
what we said.
They're not very fast, and then you look at them strength-wise compared to us, like they're not stronger. And man, the great equalizer is a team that's just willing to play together and play with your hair on fire every single play. And that's what Eagleville did. And it was the first thing I told the coach after the game. He shook his hand, and he's a great guy. I mean, I've never had the privilege of meeting him, and he's very nice to talk to. And he's been in it a long time. And I told him, I said, man, coach, you've got these kids playing well. Like, they're playing extremely well right now. And, that they did what you need to do on the road in the playoffs. They set the tone from the get-go. To me, the most impressive thing, and going back through it in my head, I don't ever remember seeing bad body language on any of their kids.
I noticed that too.
I don't ever remember seeing or hearing any bickering amongst their kids. They made mistakes.
Well, sure.
They made mistakes. They're high school kids too. But boy, the way that they carry themselves, you wouldn't have known it. You would have to go back and think about it and maybe even look at the film. So it was impressive of how together that they're playing right now, how hard they're playing. I mean, they just got after us up front, both sides of the ball. They won the battle in the trenches with just pure determination and firing off and getting after it and just lining up and doing it again and again and again and again. And there's a lot to be said for that in this game.
How they threw the ball and how they ran the ball. I don't know what to say.
The again, it's a credit to them. That that quarterback that they have right now was the running back for a majority of the season.
That's what I thought.
Their starting quarterback got hurt. Well, this would be 3 weeks ago. So that kid, that was only his third game, second 2.5 games of being quarterback.
That's unbelievable.
And it's impressive for the progress that he's made, not just for his throws, but guys, his footwork, his presence, his command of what the play calls. And again, credit to the coaching staff. I'm sure they have dialed the playbook down a little bit to make it very, very friendly for him and what he can do. But you've got a kid that wasn't a quarterback for a majority of their season running that right now and slinging it around as if he's, the quarterback. I think about one throw. It was a post route on Will Robinson. And Will Robinson's in great coverage, guys. I mean, the kid had the layout to catch the ball. It was so far in front of him. The quarterback put it the only place either his receiver was going to catch it or it wasn't going to be caught at all. And Will's, and I know Will took it very hard, but that's good coverage. He's inside bottom. I mean, that ball has to be perfect on the money.
It was an unbelievable.
And you've got a kid
catch.
that was not, didn't go into the season as the original quarterback and made that throw. And I told Will, I said, man, I know it's not what you want to hear, but that's a good play. That's a good play. It's a good ball. It's a good catch. It's a good route. It's a good coverage. It's a good high school football play. So credit goes to Eagleville. They're playing well right now. And I'd be interested to see what they can do this Friday.
It will. That's what we talked about on air with them in Moore County.
I'm sure that there's probably a little bit of the mental game that goes into that one, a lot like us with some of the, teams in your backyard when you play them. There has to be, but there is something to be said for a team that is willing to just give it everything they have on every single snap as a collective unit. And if they can do that and get some success early, much like they did against us, it using the swarm of bees, analogy there was a good one. It's overwhelming, and it can be overwhelming, and it happened to us Friday.
They had no turnovers. Of course, we only had one. It's not like we coughed it up 5 times. I mean, it wasn't nothing. As I told Jonathan, it's you look at the stats and you're like, well, I mean, you take your chances.
But you look at the stats and you think, well, it really. It's not like they just blew the stat number out of the water compared to us. Our rushing yards was the worst by far all season long.
That was the big deal.
But it just felt like we were hardly ever in that fight.
It was a bad vibe.
And it's one of those things, and I think we can go back and listen to it. You can't. There's not a stat that tracks someone that's willing to play hard every play, and that is not talked about enough. Everyone focuses on schematics and yardage and who's making what plays. But when you've got 11 individuals, 12 if needed, 15 if needed, whatever, that are willing to just get after it, regardless of the result, regardless of what's going to happen, I'm going to line up and I'm going to do it again. That's powerful, especially this time of year.
One of the things that I kind of noticed, and we can look at some of our side of the situation. I mean, like I said, we congrats to Eagleville on what they've done. But what was the change that was made across the coaching staff to the kids? Because there was several moments where it was like, man, we're not getting first down. We're not getting first down. We're not getting first down. And then as the game progressed, it's like, oh, we got a Hensley's inflatable run on first down. We got another. We got another one. It seemed like there was a change that was made. So what did you have to do to get in there and make that difference in that game?
Well, we didn't start well. We didn't start well at all. Things that we had thought, I had thought that we had prepared for enough. Obviously wasn't. I mean, you look at it, and if a kid that you've coached to do a job is not able to do that job, then that's on you as a coach. And that's where the buck starts and stops there as well. And so, you put that solely on my shoulders, and then there's the reflection over the weekend. And, there were some things on the front end there in the first couple of series you're looking at like, man, that's not how we, how we wanted to attack this. It's not how we wanted to go about this. And again, so that falls on me as a head coach, and you take that, and, because kids are going to do what you coach them to do, what changed. I think we threw the ball. We went to the passing game a little bit more than we probably wanted to and thought we were going to have to. I thought Zach threw the ball well. I know Darian had some big catches
There
there.
were some really good looks from Fowler.
But they were doing
10 out of 16.
They were
It's hard to
doing
beat.
they were doing a great job of just whipping us up front on the O-line. It was just quicker, faster. The motor was causing a lot of clutterness. Not so much moving around and different things. It was just pure play. And what was also impressive with it, as quick as they were getting off the ball, we can never get them to jump off sides.
No, never. They never did.
That's tough to do, guys.
Yeah.
That's hard to do, to be cocked and ready to roll. And then you get that freeze calling, and we called it multiple times, thinking, man, they're getting off the ball quick. We might be able to steal and kind of get them on their heels a little bit with a freeze, and they never jumped, not once.
Four penalties is all they had all game.
Yep.
4,
and none
for
of those
45
none of
yards.
those was a false start, but guys, it felt like as soon as that ball moved, boy, they were a scalded dog through that gap, and it was, again, it's impressive. You sit there and you got to be like, man, that's upper level stuff. That's a lot of discipline. That's a lot of commitment. That's a lot of being dialed in mentally to what you've got to do and focused on what you've been coached to do. And it was good execution. I mean, they played almost perfect for them, and it may have been one of their best games of the year, and we were far from it.
Did you feel like you called them at a bad time? They had a lot of momentum coming into this game. You knew that, though. It was no surprise to you, I'm sure.
I was concerned, like we said, 2 weeks before the end of the season, they were on the bubble of not even getting in the playoffs, and they had lost their quarterback, and kind of things were looking doom and gloom. And then they beat a good Cornersville team who played McKenzie tough.
Well,
I mean,
that's what I told John.
I knew they would, and Cornersville, is a good little football team, and they've got some history and tradition in that as well. And Eagleville beat them to get that play, and so it was in the back of my mind, like, man, they're trajecting one way, and we're trajecting another way, and that's not good, not a good situation. And they continue to I think improved. I think that they played a little bit better than I was expecting them to. I expected them to play well. Now, I wasn't expecting the crispness from specifically the quarterback and his ability to do what he did with him not being the quarterback all year long, and that just being his second full game doing that.
It seemed like to me, too, as far as offense, and you've already kind of hit on this, when Zach made some great throws, but there was a couple times he didn't have a chance because they were already in the backfield before we could even look up.
We talk about it a lot, and everybody loves to talk about, the ball in the air and the explosive plays and the big runs, and all that's fine and dandy. That's great. But if you lose the line of scrimmage, I don't care what you do. I don't care the guys you have on the perimeter. If you cannot win the line of scrimmage, 99% of the time, you're going to lose that game. And we lost the line of scrimmage on both sides of the football, and that's the difference.
And looking at some of those areas, what I guess pick out 2 or 3, even though it wasn't the game that we wanted and we seen. What's some of your top 2 or 3 things that you was really, really proud of for your guys that you really you wish we could have made it happen a little bit better, a little bit more?
I think you're continually impressed with the poise of our underclassmen.
Yeah.
Their ability to play in those type of games, even when things aren't going their way, things are going bad. They're right back out there. They're right back out there to play, and sometimes that's hard to get out of underclassmen who are still kind of something in their shells. But our sophomores and freshmen, even before the season was over, we said a long time, they're not sophomore and freshmen. They're playing above that level, and so you've got to be proud of that.
On paper.
You got to be proud of that. Even I know we talk about Zach a lot, and you talk about the quarterback a lot in any offense, but like you said, that kid was under constant pressure, and he still, I thought he handled it well.
It didn't seem to phase him.
I thought he handled it well, and you forget that, man, he's just a freshman. And
that's
then,
scary.
Darian had some big catches on the sideline, and there's some yards after the catch, breaking some tackles. Brogdon is still very impactful. Nigel had some good plays on kickoff. Caden Melton, I already know where I'm going to go with this later, but him punting, he was not our punter starting the season. I thought it was a bright point for us. There's a lot of times. One time he punted it out of our end zone, and we told him, like, hey, we haven't worked this with you, but you don't have long. You got to catch it and got to get it gone. And he ended up flipping the field, putting it down there around their 30 from the back of our end zone. That's tough to do.
Yeah.
That's extremely tough. And so,
especially when you ain't been doing it.
That's exactly right. And so you have all these younger kids, and yes, we're going to miss the seniors, and I know we'll get to it, and they'll have their moment in the banquet. But a lot of our production in a lot of places came from seniors, and they're going to be missed tremendously. I mean, you're losing 4 out of 5 offensive linemen, and so there's going to be a lot of things that we've got to get figured out this off season, and some of our underclassmen are going to continue to have to grow and fill those shoes. But if you've taken positives away, how many names are we talking about at the end of the year when we had our first Talons Out that we weren't talking about? We didn't think we would be talking about them.
Right.
That's encouraging, moving forward. We've got we're losing a big group, but I feel like we've got a solid base of some returning kids that got a lot of experience, more experience than we thought they were going to get. And that's going to help us, I hope, in the off season as we continue to try to improve the standard, improve what we want this to be, and move forward in the direction where it's not just enough to make the playoffs. It's not just enough to win first round and make it to second round. It's not just enough to be second in the region in the regular season. That's no longer the standard. We're wanting to push it forward, and so hopefully that's where we go.
Third down conversions. You were 2 of 10. They were 5 out of 8. Did you feel like that was in some part? Of course, now keep in mind, it seemed like you was in third and long.
That's exactly what I was just about to say. We were not on schedule. You get yourself third 8+, even third 7+ in high school football. That's tough.
Yeah.
That's hard. That's hard to do. I don't care. I really don't care who you have places. That's a third and long situation. You even see it on Saturdays and Sundays. You get those offenses off schedule, and that's tough. And we hadn't really been in that situation most of the season. A lot of our third downs have been mid to very manageable. And again, Eagleville won on first and second down. It's been a little while since we talked about that. With me, not being as involved as the DC much more, but you always talk about win first down. If you're a defense, you want to win first down. You want to get them off schedule. You want to keep them to 2 or less on first down. And if you do that, then you're ahead in the game now. And Eagleville did a great job of doing that.
All right, is that all you got on the Eagleville situation? Yeah. All right, we'll step away, take a 1-minute message. We'll come back and talk about season stats as a whole after this on the War Eagle Radio Network. Rogers Hydrant Service Incorporated is a family-owned and operated company located in the heart of West Tennessee. Their business stands on hard work and hands-on customer service. Whether you need hydrant flow testing, flushing and repairs, valve operation, hydrant painting, GPS mapping, backflow device testing and repair, or water main repairs, they're the complete hydrant company to serve all of your hydrant needs. Call Tim Rogers or Joey Cherry at 731-662-3700. Rogers Hydrant Service Incorporated, they know H2O.
If you're looking for the best in home generators, then look to K-Men Electric in Greenfield, Tennessee for your sales and installation of Generac home standby generators. Free estimates, licensed and insured. Why sit in the dark during power outages? Life is better with power. K-Men Electric has the experience you need with over 1,000 generators installed. Call today at 731-571-0767.
Welcome back live on the War Eagle Radio Network. Talons Out Live, presented by Rogers Hydrant Service here at West Carroll High School. Well, we've kind of hashed out the final game against Eagleville. Now let's see if we can look back at some of the season stats. We've got Don sent those to us, and kind of what are we looking at as far as season stats, as far as the scores and stuff goes? And looks like from what I can see here, we outscored our opponents for the most part.
This is some interesting stats here.
All right, well, let's get to it, Adam. What do you see?
West Carroll, 294 scoring for the season. Opponents, 223. First downs, West Carroll, 173. Our opponents, 110. Here we go. Rushing, West Carroll, 108 via rushing. Opponents, 61. This is one that I thought was really interesting, the passing. 36 first downs passing to our opponents, 33. Penalties, 29 for West Carroll, 16 for our opponents. Net rushing yardage, West Carroll 2,261 yards. The opponent 1,696. Net passing yardage, West Carroll 962 for the season. The opponent's 897. Total net offense 3,223. The opponent's 2,593. Let's do some more here. Fumbles. This was interesting here. 10 fumbles, but you lost 6. The opponent's 6 fumbles and lost 6. So that was, it's.
As a whole, it's like, man, that kind of bums you out a little bit because, man, there's so much better for West Carroll than the opponents in those things, and that's kind of the bummy part of it, I guess, with them last four games not going the way you wanted them to and not getting any kind of victories out of those. But as a whole, man, that was a heck of a season. Right
well,
there.
you think about some of the games we lost. If you remove the Eagleville-McKenzie game, FACS was less than a one-score game.
Right.
Camden was less than a one-score game.
Mhm.
KIPP was less than a one-score game. I mean,
it was on the verge or on the fence of going the other direction in a heartbeat on 3 of those games.
Right.
Yeah,
that's exactly right.
And here's one that I like here, the score by quarter. All right.
No.
First quarter, West Carroll 72, opponent 61. That's about what I thought, honestly, without even looking at
fairly
this.
even.
Now, this second quarter, 95 for West Carroll. The opponent's 95. To me, that's kind of been a vibe, though, because we've started out slow, but it seems like we have been very explosive in the second quarter. Now, here you go. Third quarter, West Carroll 63. The opponent's 21.
Wow.
So, and then the fourth quarter, West Carroll 64 and the opponent's 46. So, we've said it all year long. I feel like you and your coaches have done a great job on the adjustments. Sometimes stats don't tell the whole tale, I know, but you look at that, 63 in the third quarter compared to the opponent's 21.
The problem,
the slow start though.
The problem is when you get to November, you get to playoff football, or you get to play into good teams in your region, or some teams that might be a little better than you. Sometimes those adjustments are a little bit too late, and so we got to find a way this offseason to get started faster, and try to make that first and third quarter be your most productive quarters. Not saying the second and fourth is not important, but that's a lot of time where your tone for the game is going to be set. That first quarter and that third quarter.
Well, when you look at this, hold on, John, and I'll let you go. Second quarter, that's something that I noticed. 95 points given up compared to 21 in the third. So I mean, that's quadruple. Difference, which is just hard to even comprehend. So that's all I was going to say on that.
Well, what I was going to say, you were talking about the first and the third. I remember Nat Moore coming to join us on some basketball broadcasts and stuff before, and he was always a very advocate of saying your first 3 minutes coming out of that locker room in halftime in that third period of basketball is going to set that tone of the way it goes. And I mean, it's probably very similar in the game of football as well.
No, it is. I mean, you look at what Eagleville did, it's the most recent one, but they dominated, they ended up dominating it all, but they dominated the first quarter. And set the tone. The tone was clearly set in those first couple of series. And we did that some. When we did that, man, we played really good football. We played very, very clean football. And then we had games where we didn't do that. And when we didn't do that, we didn't play very good football.
I'm trying to go over. I mean, I went over a bunch of stuff on here, but let's go over the penalties. 84 penalties for the season for West Carroll for 720 yards. The opponent's 87 penalties for 743 yards.
That's fairly even.
Well, of course, now you got to keep in mind now Camden had about 30.
Yeah, we our penalties got better as the season went along. I feel like if I'm thinking about, the stats, the beginning of the year, remember we had conversations like, man, coach, how are you going to get these penalties down? It was a lot of holdings, a lot of this, that, and the other. And then, towards the tail end, we had some games with 4 or 5 and, not too terribly bad. So, just like, as Adam was saying, the opponent's penalties definitely skewed by Camden, and ours is skewed by the first 3 to 3.5 games. We kind of settled in as the season went along and played a little bit better as far as holdings are concerned, which seemed to be our most common one.
Third down conversions, 41 out of 103 was West Carroll for. That's a percentage of 40%. But your opponent's 26 out of 87 for 30%. So,
again, with the exception of the tail end of the season, we thought defense played well most of the season. You want that third down conversion percentage to be a lot higher than that. But it all goes back to what type of third down situations are you in? And are you in some situations, I'm not going to sit here and sugarcoat it. There were certain times that we were in third and mid. I'd let Coach Dixon know on the front end, like, hey, you got 2 plays here to get this, because I wasn't on the fence of punting this. So that changes your play call a little bit too, and if you're in third and long, then you're grasping for some things. But if you're third and mid and we're certain areas, we definitely would communicate like, hey, you don't have to get it all on one play here. We'll get some, and then we can get the rest on fourth down. So, yeah, I'm not happy with that 40% on that by no means.
Fourth down conversions, 19 out of 39 for 48% compared to your opponent's 11 out of 27 for only 40%. You went for it a lot this year, and I liked it because you took some chances sometimes, and that's okay.
Only so many times we'll watch a snap go into the end zone on punt. That's a lot of how my decisions are made. How is the unit?
It's a feel.
How is the unit performing? And there, especially at the beginning of the season, all the way up to the Houston game, punt was a gamble for us. Getting the snap there and getting it off, and then getting the coverage downfield, and it just seemed like more bad things were happening than not when we punted it on fourth down. But credit to Nate, and then Caden coming in when Corn got injured during the year, and punt ended up being one of our bright points here at the end of the season. I thought Caden Melton did a fantastic job this past week on Friday night punting.
Defensively for the season, you were led by Nate Wyckoff, who had 63 total tackles. Nick Andre with 44 total tackles. Drew Smith with 38. Joseph Brogdon, 34. Darian Taylor, 27. Dalen Drassel, 25. Jackson Mims, 21. Jaden Milton, 18. Cornelius Cannon and Hayden Holly with 17 tackles. Preston Bosley with 16 tackles. Jace Hammett with 13 tackles. Tice Reed with 10 tackles. Then you had Will Robinson with 6 and Haynes with 6. Talk about your defense and the job that Coach Dolan, I thought, did with this group.
It's kind of a tale of 2 seasons, and that's not the way you want to talk when you do a reflection of a season. There in the first half of the season, gosh, our defense was playing so stingy. Being very, very hard nosed, very sound. A lot of swarming to the ball, not a lot of big plays given up. You had some here and there, but not a whole lot. But what'll be remembered is kind of how the defense finished, and kind of finished on giving up big plays and not a lot of group tackling. And
do you attribute that to, do you think, lack of confidence? You've got a lot of youth on the defense, some in certain areas. Do you attribute that to, anything in particular, or just not really? I mean,
I don't know. And that's probably the best way to answer that question. No. I don't know. I don't know what to attribute that to. Maybe someday it'll come, and reviewing and thinking about some things we were doing there towards the end of the year, and of course players' health plays into that. You're definitely not going to be as healthy towards the end of the year, as fresh and as explosive with your legs as you were at the beginning of the year. But what are some different things? I don't know. But I do know this. There's 2 ways to look. If you look at the top 5 tacklers for this past season, there's 2 ways to look at it. The one way that is a focus is you're losing top 3 tacklers. They're all seniors, and so your production there. But then 4th and 5th are a sophomore and a freshman.
Yeah.
And so that's encouraging. When you've got that type of underclassmen also in the top 5 of your tackling on defense, that means that there are some pieces there to be able to build around. We're going to miss Nate. We're going to miss all the seniors, but what Nate was able to do at inside linebacker, he just has a knack for finding the football amongst all the trash, and he makes good reads, and he's a physical kid. He's a long kid. He's faster than people think. That will be missed tremendously. But I wish we would have finished a little bit better on defense. And I know I'm not taking any words out of Coach Dolan's mouth. I know he says the same thing. We just didn't finish the job. We got about halfway there.
With what you've got returning and what you've lost, you're losing a core group here.
Mm-hmm.
What are some of the pieces that you hope to slowly maybe put into the puzzle for next year, maybe?
The big one you got to look at is inside linebacker. Regardless of what defensive scheme we run next year, no, we don't know. It's going to be based on how some of these underclassmen develop in the offseason. And what kind of fits the personnel we have. But you're losing Nate and Nick, which are the two inside linebackers for us this week, not this week, this past season, and that's a big concern. Got a lot of production coming back on defensive line, with Brogdon coming back, and then Caden Melton played a lot of snaps down there. Nigel Butler, came on towards the latter part of the year. So, there's going to be some options down there D-line wise. The bigger concern is going to be in the back end. Secondary, you're losing mainstays like Dalen Drazzle, Drew Smith, Jackson Mims. You're losing some names back there that have been there for some years with a lot of experience. And, granted, we got some kids in there. Darian played a lot, all season long. So, and Bosley, as he gets healthy, he's got a lot of experience there as well. Zach Fowler got a lot of wear ups back there as well. But the skill position is probably going to be the one that we have to put the most focus in on trying to figure out a plan that best fits the ones we have.
We've talked about defense. You know what we're going to ask next? Offense. You've got Fowler back. You've got Jaden Milton. Talk about some pieces that you've got coming back on offense and how you feel good about yourself.
The biggest concern offensively, well, it's twofold. We're losing a lot of receivers. You're losing Dalen, you're losing Nate, you're losing Drew, and Jackson was a key piece there in the receiving core as well. The offensive line is getting hit hard with graduation. 4 of the 5 were seniors, with the lone sophomore being up there. Amari played quite a bit, and he's another sophomore, and he'll be able to step right in and do a job as well. But we're gonna have to find 3 more. We're going to have to really look and develop, and it comes with strength. It comes with footwork. It comes with, just time to see who can do it, who can make that job, theirs. And, receiving wise, you'll have Darian back. We forget, you've got Zach Hames, who makes big plays now and then. You'll have Jaden Milton back. You've got Jace Hammett back. You've got, again, when Preston Bosley gets healthy, you get him back. There's some names we talked about, a few times. Gabriel Barber will be right there in that mix. Caden Melton will be in the mix somewhere. You still got Ben. You got Zach Fowler. Ben Pruitt. That is, and so you got a lot of names that we've talked about that are still going to be around. But that offensive line is going to have a lot of attention and detail and love put into it this offseason.
All right, I got something different for you.
Oh boy.
He said, "Oh boy." 2023 season.
Mm-hmm.
I want you to give me one word, okay? Not of the whole thing, but I'm gonna give you a category, and I want you to give me one word. Offense.
You didn't give me time to prepare for this.
Jonathan, hey, John, I try to bring you some fastballs. Jonathan's bringing out the 12-6 curve. And already it's early. They're not throwing curveballs yet in baseball. The coach wants them to just throw fastballs. I'm just joking.
Offense. I would say, and that's tough because of how we finished the year. I would say explosive.
Okay. Defense.
Stingy.
I like that. That's what I was thinking. Yeah.
Special teams.
Inconsistent.
Yeah, sure.
And now I'm going to make you look at yourself. Coaching staff.
How would I describe the whole staff on the season?
Because we don't want to zero anyone out,
Yeah, no, definitely not.
Let's just go.
I may have to explain what I mean by this.
Okay.
But I'm going to say incomplete, meaning that we're not where we need to be as coaches yet. And I'll follow that up with saying that if anyone tells you as a coach that they are, then it's probably time for them to get out of the game. There's always growth. There's always learning. There's always decisions that are made that you wish you would have made the other way, and you learn from it and you move forward. It's a process.
You can always get better.
You've got to keep going.
Yeah.
I'm blessed to have a great staff.
Yeah.
I do. For a 1A school, I have a phenomenal coaching staff, and we make mistakes.
Yeah.
We do things that we sit and we, talk about amongst ourselves that, we wish we could do this. We wish we would have done this. We wish this, and this. And those are conversations that just kind of stay with us. And that's always the case. But I say incomplete because I have a staff. We're not satisfied. We're not, and you shouldn't be with how we ended. But even if we'd ended 8-2, let's say the two is McKenzie and Eaglefield. We ended 8-2. It would have been a great season. But I'm like, man, we're off 8 wins. Not satisfied.
Right.
Not satisfied. We can be better at what we do. We could be better offensively. We're going to get better offensively. We could be better defensively. Definitely could be better special teams wise. We could be better culture wise. We could be better family wise. We could be better expectation wise. Those conversations are already starting. I've been on my phone on the weekend, and coach has been talking these last 2 days. We're having conversations of things that we want to do because we think it's going to make us better.
Yeah.
That is important. I can work with men and young men, and the kids we get coming back that are hungry to improve, never satisfied, hungry to improve. So incomplete's a good one. We're not there yet.
All right. I'm going to ask you the same thing. And I know you don't know what all you have as far as freshmen coming in, but I'm going to ask you the same thing for 2024, looking ahead and some foreshadowing. Give me that one word.
Surprising.
As a whole?
As a whole.
Yeah.
I'm calling the shot right now. I'm surprising. I know there's going to be a lot of negativity. Already has been. There will be.
There'll be doubters.
When you lose 12 seniors,
Yeah.
why would there not be?
Yeah.
I'm telling you right now, surprising. I could be far off, and I've been wrong more than I'm right. But some of the things that I've noticed over the year that no one talks about, and that if you don't truly pay attention to the game and understand the way it's played, you don't see it. But I've seen some things over the last 2 to 3 months out of some of the kids that I never would have imagined seeing some out of them, seeing anything like that out of our underclassmen. I've seen glimpses, and those glimpses is very, very, very encouraging. They may not know a whole lot about football. That's on us to get them there. But I've seen some traits out of some kids and some names that I thought were a year or two away that I don't think that they're going to let the negativity bother them. I think they're going to show up. I think they're going to work. They're going to do what's asked, and they're going to do it to the best of their abilities. Yeah. If we can make that consistent, surprising is my word for next year.
Future of West Carroll is bright. And I don't really care what sport you're in. I feel like, looking at some of these junior highs in the basketball, the junior high in the football, I feel like the West Carroll sports as a whole, the future is really, really bright. It may be 2 years down the road. It may be next year.
Mm-hmm.
But, I feel like, and, saying that, I'm not saying this was not a bright year. There was a lot of bright aspects.
There was a lot to be proud of from this season. I mean, you finished second in the region, and you hosted a home playoff game, and we had kids play in meaningful plays that we did not imagine being in that role, and they thrived. I mean, think about Will Robinson. He's not he was not a football player, and he got into that situation, and there at the end of the year, we had to have him, kid made plays. And then you talk about kids like Joseph Brogdon, who was, I would have bet money he was a year away, going into this season. Nigel Butler, kid that just loves to play. Freshman quarterback, almost passing for over 1,000 yards, so there's a lot of positives when you look, and sometimes that's hard to move past the glaring negatives, but that's a flaw in us as humans. We focus on the negatives more than we do the positives, but there was a lot of positives. And again, I think that's a good word to go in for this group, because I know what the projections will say. I can already tell you what they'll be, and there's not going to be a lot of expectations. with a young group, losing a big group, a small senior class the next year. I think it's going to be surprising. I think we're going to have some kids that are just going to flat out get after it.
Yeah. All right, is that all you got, Al?
I got one question. That's it.
Knock it out, son.
I promise.
Knock it out.
Top 3 things that you want to focus on in the off season to get you ready for next year.
We'll lump 2 into one word, but
fine.
we'll go with growth. Number 1, we got to continue to grow physically. With these young kids, they're still going to grow. They're going to develop. Their bodies are going to begin changing, and you also got to grow mentally. It seems to be more and more common that just not a lot of kids go and watch football anymore, or basketball, or baseball. I'm sure it's the same.
It is. It is.
The knowledge of the game is just
you hit it on the head.
It's not what it used to be. So we have to get creative this off season. How do we teach a kid that has a little twitch about them, that's got a little bit of a get up and go, to learn, the game, the basics of the game. I grew up in front of, watching games, whether it was baseball, basketball,
Same here. Yeah.
Soccer, football. It didn't matter. I watched sports. This is what I watched. That's what I did. And so, that's a less and less common thing. So keep growing physically and mentally. Number 2, camaraderie. I thought we got closer this season than in prior season as a family, as a group, as a team. We're not there yet. We still had we still had some riff, and we saw that in certain places. When that adversity would hit, we'd see that inner bickering and inner fighting. And last, and this was the kind of the message to the underclassmen on Monday, and it was a short message, but I'm a firm believer in it. And if you don't, then just look at Eagleville and then watch them on their film and see how that you try to tell me how they were able to play that way. Heart.
Oh, absolutely.
An unbelievable amount of heart and pride in what you do. Having pride in what you've been through. We've said it, and I'll die on this hill. When you have the pride and you have the heart into what you're investing in, when you're truly invested in it at your core, you will go further every single time than you think you can, because it means something all the time. Look at Eagleville, watch the film, look at their weight room numbers or 40 numbers, whatever, and then tell me what was different. They played with a lot of heart every single time.
Yeah.
That comes from being truly invested and devoted to what you're working towards. The process, we talk about it a lot.
And I noticed it when I even told Jonathan up there we were getting ready. I noticed it watching them warm up.
Yeah.
I could just, I had a vibe then, and I was like, man, I said, these guys are ready. I can just tell they're ready.
It's not measurable. There's not a stat that goes with it.
And it's a shame that there's not.
I know it.
Because, I mean, it's, oh, boy, theirs would be, hey, off the charts.
It's powerful.
Yeah.
It's powerful. When you have a family together that is willing to go further every single play for the person beside you, over and over and over and over, regardless of what happened.
There's no schematics that can.
That's powerful.
Yeah.
That's powerful.
Yeah.
And I think we can get there. It's just a process. It just takes time.
And when you were talking about 2024 and using some of those words, something just crossed my mind. You talked about the word growth, and then just a few minutes ago, the 2024 was surprising. My word is going to be wow, because if Ben Pruitt gets out there and make things happen at the quarterback position, Zach Fowler gets out there and makes all of that growth, there's where the word surprising is going to come into play. I really feel like, because those two guys, when they're both healthy, they can be able to switch in and out. Oh my goodness, what could we do in 2024 if you've got both of those two guys, both of those as quarterbacks healthy, and then everybody else doing their part? There's where that word surprising comes into play.
The thing I hope this group continues to do, that we're going to have, is thus far in their career that I've been here and I've been around these classes, a vast majority of them, would say 98% of them, they're quiet workers, meaning they show up, they work. That there's leadership traits and there's different things. There's holding them to a standard, but they just go about their business.
Yeah,
and they want it. They want to go to work. They want to put in. They're already begging to get into the weight room, and get back to it. And there's a time and place for that too. But just that consistent coming to work,
Yeah.
And giving the absolute best you can on any given day, understanding that that's different every day. It looks different. What your best is on this day may not be that way tomorrow, but making that commitment that I'm going to give you everything I got today because that's what I said I'm going to do, and then do it. And I think this group, at their core, they may not realize it yet, but I think that that's what they're going to be. And if that's the case, surprise. Surprise. It could definitely be there.
Yeah. All right, we're going to step away, take a quick 30-second break. We'll come back and wrap it all in a bow after this on the War Eagle Radio Network. Are you looking for the best knowledge about H2O? Call Rogers Hydrant Service Incorporated. At Rogers Hydrant Service, they focus on building strong relationships with each of their customers to ensure every experience is the best that it can be. With over 125 years of combined experience in water treatment and distribution, they can help you achieve the best results from your water distribution system. Call Rogers Hydrant Service.
It's clean.
At 662
It's cold.
7300.
And that's what I call high quality H2O.
Welcome back live on the War Eagle Radio Network. Talons Out Live, presented by Rogers Hydrant Service here at West Carroll High School. As I said earlier, the next thing we got coming up for broadcast is going to be next Tuesday. It'll be the boys and girls of the basketball stars headed to JCS to take on the JCS Eagles. I think that's right.
Yes,
Eagles.
that's correct.
And so that's what we got coming up next on the broadcast. I have put the basketball schedule on the website, wareagleradio.com. I got the events on there. You can even export those events to your calendar. Got that figured out yesterday, so got that squared away. But as far as the football side of the situation, it's been a fun year, fun season. Although there was some roller coaster moments. Roller coasters are still fun, okay? I like roller coasters, but I get it. You don't want to have that down part of the roller coaster. But, it's still been a fun year, and it's still been exciting to follow along with you, your staff, and your boys.
Yeah, we appreciate it.
No, I appreciate y'all, and then we definitely appreciate the West Carroll community, all the support that they poured in this season. It's there's not enough thank yous in the world. Roll that over into basketball.
Yeah,
roll it over into the boys and
Come
girls.
support.
Junior high's well in the swing. High school's on its way. Continue to support these kids. They work hard. They work hard, and they deserve it. And if you're able, show up and show out for them. Just carry the excitement on over.
All right, just bring it on. Any day, anytime you want to. So, well, Coach Morris, thank you for a stellar season. We appreciate you still enjoying doing this Talons Out Live, and
I enjoy it. Thank y'all for doing it.
Breaking everything down, and seeing kind of the behind the scenes and the in-depth situation with the football stuff. So, and maybe next year we can talk Dixon and Dolan into maybe some rotation, and let them join you. That way you don't have to. You don't have to be the one to
give
talk
you a
about
break every now and then.
Continual growth, right?
Yeah.
Continual growth.
Yeah.
So, but no, I appreciate y'all for doing this. Thanks.
Thank you.
It's been fun. It's been real fun. So, like I said, look at the schedule, wareagleradio.com for basketball coming up. Adam, I appreciate everything you've done all season long for the football. I asked you a few years ago, was you ever going to be a referee for football?
No.
You said no way.
No way.
So
that's the only sport I won't do, so you're safe.
I will have Adam
that.
Welch as my play-by-play
You are safe.
guy
You're safe,
for
I
football
promise.
for many years to come until we
I could do it. There's been some guys that try to talk me into it. No worries. No worries. The answer is no, John.
It's just that good. So
I'm easy making you at ease right
that's
now.
good. I appreciate that. So, because you're able to make things happen and see the things that I'm like, oh, is that okay? That's interesting.
It gives my legs a break before basketball, so I have plenty of running there. Yeah.
Well, all right. I appreciate everything you've done. We say thanks to Don G for getting us up and down the roads, keeping up with the stats, getting the stats to you, Coach, and getting them all supplied. And we appreciate everything that you've done for us, Coach, for this show. So
thank y'all again.
Well, that'll do it. So on behalf of Coach Morris, Adam Welch, I'm Jonathan Gowan, and we will talk to you next Tuesday on the basketball side of the situation on the War Eagle Radio Network. Tonight's broadcast on the War Eagle Radio Network is brought to you under exclusive radio rights granted by West Carroll High School to the Tennessee Internet Broadcasting Company, solely for the private non-commercial use of our listening audience. Any publication, reproduction, or the use of the descriptions and accounts of this event without the express written consent of the Tennessee Internet Broadcasting Company and West Carroll High School is prohibited.